Welcome back, folks. I'm Frizz, and today I'd like to take some time to talk about ghost PCs. Playing a ghost is a really interesting experience to say the least, and Paizo actually made an archetype just for that in the Book of the Dead. In my opinion, it's the most interesting undead archetype from that book, so let's talk about it. Alright, so the first thing to recognize is that ghosts get a lot of abilities normally, and a lot of them are very good, and as a PC ghost, you don't get all of them right away. These abilities like flying, going through walls, and resistance to all damage are insanely strong, and I literally just made a video going over how these are super scary. Giving all of these to a PC at level 2 would be incredibly nuts, so instead, you get all of the basics of being a ghost at level 2 and then slowly unlock some ghost abilities with further class feats. Alright, so at level 2, you're basically a diet version of a ghost. That sounds bad, but ghosts are already really good, so it all works out. You're incorporeal, meaning that you can't grapple or be grappled, or really use any strength-based skill, or have it be used on you. Also, you can't interact with physical objects, so try and avoid being trapped in a room that has all the doors closed, since you literally can't open them to get out. Also, importantly, you aren't locked out of using equipment that you find, as you can spend 10 minutes to be able to pick up an item and use it normally, meaning that every class can actually be a ghost, not just spellcasters. Outside of the basic undead benefits that all undead archetypes get, that's all you really get with the ghost dedication. At higher levels though, things get a bit cooler. Every ability unlocked in this archetype is fun and incredibly flavorful for a ghost, but I'm just going to hit the greatest hits here. And speaking of greatest hits, Ghostly Resistance might be the best feat in the game for damage mitigation. Ghosts normally have resistance to all damage types, and Ghostly Resistance gives that to a PC. While the resistance is very low for the average ghost, it is only bypassed by a couple of rare damage types that people only really use when fighting ghosts, so it's going to add up incredibly quickly and block tons and tons of damage over the course of a PC's career. Seriously? Resistance to all damage is ridiculously good, and it will save your life. If you make it to 6th level playing as a ghost, you're probably going to be pretty tired of not being able to directly move any object in the world by this point. Surprisingly, picking up stuff is pretty important to day-to-day life. Ghostly Grasp at level 6 is almost a must-grab for ghost PCs, since it actually allows you to interact with physical objects. You can, actually try to do that now, though you do have to pass a DC 20 athletics or thievery check, otherwise the action is wasted. This means that no matter what, any ghost can attempt to open a door given enough time, and if you're at least trained in athletics or thievery, then you have a very good chance of success, and you can actually start, grappling people in combat. This opens up so many doors, both literally and figuratively. At level 8, the Ghost archetype gets a pretty strong ability, though it isn't as crazy it might seem. You get a basic fly speed equal to your land speed as a ghost, but normally you can't leave more than a couple of inches off the ground. Ghost Flight changes that, where you spend 2 actions and you just have a fly speed that actually works like a fly speed for 10 minutes. Now you can leave the clutches of the ground like a real ghost. Since it is limited to just a once per day usage, it isn't actually that much stronger than some ancestry feats that some ancestors get access to at level 9, or just a spellcaster casting fly. That doesn't mean that Ghost Flight is a bad feat by any means though, just that it's not completely unheard of for a character to be flying around by level 8. If you'd allow me to go a little bit out of order here, there is an upgrade to Ghost Flight called Unlimited Ghost Flight at level 14, and as you might imagine, it's just a straight up upgrade to Ghost Flight that makes it happen all of the time. An unlimited fly speed is pretty crazy, especially at level 14, but then again, it's a level 14 feat, so it's just very good rather than being overpowered. Now though, you've probably been wondering where one of the most iconic abilities of Ghosts is. Well, if you've been wanting to walk through walls, then you've unfortunately got to wait until level 10, and you've got to be a master in acrobatics. With the pass-through feat, you can finally fulfill your jump scare dreams by walking through basically every wall known to man, so long as it isn't made out of force. You can only try and move through a wall once per 10 minutes as a 3-action activity, but while that means that it isn't great for combat because it takes your entire turn. It's amazing for shenanigans and just generally the ability to walk through walls. Really, it's really good. It isn't entirely free. You can't do it at will because you do have to make a DC, like an acrobatics check against a DC that depends on whatever you're going through. A wall is typically like DC 30 while a window is DC 10. Considering that you're a master in acrobatics, you should be able to hit basically every DC pretty reliably. The final feat for the Ghost archetype is nuts, and it's really the only rare feat in this entire archetype, which is by itself already rare for a good reason. Rejuvenation makes it so once you die without fulfilling the goal that keeps you animated in the material plane, you manifest again after 2d4 days. Effectively, while there is a bit of a waiting period, you're immortal until your goal is fulfilled, and even then your GM can allow you to get a new goal to just never permanently die. This is rare for a good reason, since while dying still is punishing if you're on a time clock, being immortal is a bit much, especially for a level 12 feat. GMs, I really do recommend that you give this some genuine thought if a PC asks if they can take this, because death is pretty important to have hovering over your PC's heads so they stop making incredibly dumb decisions. Of all the undead archetypes, the Ghost archetype is easily my favorite one of the lot. It takes a character option that is obviously broken, being incorporeal, and finds a way to make it work within the system without completely breaking balance. Don't get me wrong, I still think that this is an excellent archetype mechanically, but it takes a wild character concept and actually makes it viable without, breaking the game. I'd love to see more archetypes along these lines from the future in Paizo, since archetypes that radically change how your character even works at a baseline level are super fun and interesting to read. Thanks for watching. While this isn't a real archetype review, it's a bit of a blast from the past to cover an archetype since I used to basically only talk about archetypes. Have you actually been able to play Ghost PC before, or do you want to in the future? Let me know in a comment down below, and I don't know, like the video or something while you're down there. Until I see you next, live a wonderful life.